Welcome to the July 23rd, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And PyroJackFrost.
And one of these days, I might just say that awkward thing exactly correct, without too much staccato.
Sure.
And
but today
this
won't be
If you say
is
so.
less staccato, more
It's good
legato.
to take it slowly.
So, we have Pyro back.
I know that.
Yes. I'm back from the dead.
Oh,
I was dead, and I've been arisen.
It is past
that?
Easter.
What was that like? Very boring.
You never want it to happen to you.
Don't want it to happen to you.
I wouldn't recommend it.
I've had better.
I've been to hell. You wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have another great show here. We have some things left over from last time because old man Stompy took up all the time.
Like you do.
But no, that was a really good duo of shows last time. Actually, I took up all the time with my TurboGrafx mini talk. So
Yeah.
As you do.
Yep.
yeah, well, at least it wasn't Binding of Isaac talk. I mean, we've had quite a bit of that.
Yeah, that would have sucked. That would have been something I'm interested in. Oh, snap. Now, TurboGrafx games actually are pretty cool. It's just like they're all shooters.
The thing is, nobody knows about them, so like I
Yeah,
felt
it's a novelty.
obligated to talk about them because like you know what the Nintendo classics are, even the lesser known classics. People know about those, but like
What's a
like-
Nintendo?
oh, it's that thing made by Sony that you play.
It's that
Hooked up to the
Hanafuda
TV.
card game.
But yeah, they make those projector things that display that gunman. that
They
you gotta
make
shoot.
that one sewing machine accessory for their video game console.
They do.
Yup. Or at least they did.
So, I first of all wanted to talk about like my big hype moment of this week. I just wanted to go over this because like this is like a big deal to me and probably Lotus here at least. I don't know how Pyro feels about this, but Streets of Rage 4 finally had its composers revealed, which has been a big secret since the game's announcement. The original soundtracks of all three original games in the series are a big part of why people like the series. They were all composed by Yuzo Koshiro and Motohiro Kawashima, who did tracks for Streets of Rage 2 and Streets of Rage 3. He tends to make all of the crazy sounding music. In fact, most of Streets of Rage 3, if not all of it, is done by him. It's so he was basically Yuzo Koshiro's understudy for a long time while he was working at and I think he's still there at Yuzo Koshiro's company, so he works with him, and he made the procedural generated songs. Well, anyway, this is a big thing, a big reason why people love the series, not only just because of the great gameplay and the style and everything, but also because of the music. And Yuzo Koshiro even made 2 and 3. His company made those games.
Part of me feels like for a lot of games, not a lot, but a good number of games, like the music brings people back.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Castlevania, it's a huge part of it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
especially
I would say like the music in the Persona game, Mega 10 games, like brings me back. The
Absolutely.
Final
Yeah.
Fantasy music. I mean,
Zelda.
yeah, Zelda. So it's like obviously the games need to be good too, but like music definitely is one of the key pillars of a great game design.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think you're touching on something there, and I kind of just...
I'm not touching anything.
That's not where I'm standing. Not from where I'm standing. Anyway,
I need to move my camera so you can see now.
but what I was going to say is video games don't specialize really in a story. most video game stories are terrible or minor. They only have trappings of a story or outlines of a story.
Well, mainly in the older era. Like now, there's
Yeah.
a little more of a focus on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think a lot of the older games, a lot of what you were feeling not just was the the art and the story, but the music helps set the tone for what you should feel at that time.
And I'm really into electronic music, and one of the reasons why is I think because of video games, and it's because I try to tell people that the reason why I'm so into video game music is because they need to use the music to really convey a lot of your feelings, because even if there's part of the game that there's no text going on, the music needs to convey that. Or even when there is text, it needs to convey. Similarly to music in movies, if if you take any movie where I felt emotional and then you played it again for me with just the dialogue, I would not nearly feel as emotional.
Well, actually, that reminds me. Have you seen any of those little experiments where they play an identical scene with completely different music or something, and it just sounds so bizarre? Like I've seen a couple of things that actually make fun of this. There was a commercial from a decade ago which had it focused on a household lamp the whole time. I don't even remember what the commercial was for, but it showed the lamp just lighting up a house or whatever, and it played this peaceful music, but then the music got melancholy when it showed that the lamp was getting thrown out or whatever, and it's all sad and it's raining when the lamp was out in the front of the house. It was like a Toy Story thing. It's oh man, I feel bad for the lamp for doing its job and getting disposed of. And then text comes on the screen that it's what are you so sad about? It's a lamp. This happens all the time, and stuff like that. And did you ever see the I don't remember what the channel is called, but there's a YouTube channel where, at least among the things they do, is remove the music from movie scenes. And they somehow were able to get the audio of what the scene was without the music. Did you ever see the ending scene in Star Wars: A New Hope, the awards ceremony without the music?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's hilarious.
That is
There's people coughing in the background.
Well, why not? There's music
really
over
good.
it. Because it is a whole couple of minutes of zero dialogue. There's people walking up an aisle, getting the medals, smiling. There's nothing without the music. It's just stark. And actually, even the new Suspiria movie did a take on that, because I don't know if you've seen either Suspiria, but
I haven't.
Suspiria takes place in a dance studio, and there's a part in the new movie where one of the teachers is taking a look at a new student, and she goes, "Do a dance for us." And the student's "Is there any music?" And the teacher's "Nope, we think that you know what you're doing, just go ahead and dance for us." And she's "Okay." And she's doing all these extreme theatrical on stage kind of dance movements, and without music it's kind of creepy looking. It's a very different mood.
Well, what I'm getting at here is not only is Yuzo Koshiro returning, they were keeping this a big secret for a long time. He couldn't say whether he was in it or not for a long time, and so he probably had an NDA, and then it also made people worried because, what if they made him sign, what if they gave him a deal where they said, "Oh, don't say anything," because it's bad press, right?
Yeah.
Because that would be a thing. That would be a knock against it for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, both of them are returning for the new game.
Yeah, that's amazing by itself.
Yeah, really amazing. It's not the same without them. Yoko Shimomura from Street Fighter II fame is going to be contributing.
Get ready for a lot more Top Gun tracks in Streets Rage 4.
Da, 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 da. That's a total Top Gun. I listened to the real Top Gun soundtrack the other day. It is not even a ripoff. It's just a fucking copy.
I never saw Top Gun, so I never knew that,
alive.
and it blew my mind when I found out.
I don't know how it's still allowed. I don't. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway, they must have settled at a court or something. They had to have, because I can't imagine. Street Fighter 2 is one of the most popular iconic games of all time. this has to be a known quantity. But anyway, Keiji Yamagishi from the original Ninja Gaiden, I believe the NES game.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, not the arcade game
Nope.
with like I Am Man, like do 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 do,
No,
and then
no,
it changes
no.
it up a little bit, like do 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 do.
A lot of
do,
copying
It's like
back
it's
then.
way too close for comfort.
And then, last but not least, this guy's been in the news. We talked about him last time. Hideki Naganuma from Jet Set Radio and Sonic Rush fame.
Very nice.
So, all kinds of all-star fucking talent is going to be in this game, and it's going to make it sound amazing. I cannot freaking wait. I will buy this just to listen to it. Like, I don't even care if the game is good, which, this is made by Lizard Cube, so I have complete faith that this is going to be a good game. They made the Monster Boy game.
Yeah.
No. They made the Dragon's Trap remake. That's right.
That was Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy and Dragon's Trap. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of those games where like the current era has lots of collector's editions of games where they'll come with like a big box or a soundtrack CD or something.
I am definitely getting this.
if there's a soundtrack CD, I'm all over it.
Yeah, this is really cool. I'm excited. I think they made one other game. I think they made the remake of Pang or Super Buster Brothers as well. So that was a good game too. But I am like more even more amped up now because this is amazing. So I do want to move on though. There's plenty to talk about here. So we also have a remake of Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz announced for all new consoles.
But will it still have the Dole advertisements?
Probably not.
Will there be a level that's shaped like a GameCube?
Probably not. PS4, Switch, and Xbox One, all consoles. So yeah, and a Steam release later on. So
is that a first?
Yes, this is the first PC release of a Monkey Ball game. Yeah. So this was originally, I believe, on the Wii.
The Wii.
Yeah, that's right. It was a Wii. Yeah.
And
So-
the controls were really obnoxious.
Yeah. So this will be with analog controls instead.
Wait, so the Wii one was the
thankfully.
one that had like a story mode with bosses and everything?
No, that's Super Monkey Ball Adventure. That was the third game for GameCube.
Okay.
But that was not very good. But I assume that this game will be good, without the obnoxious controls. So that's really exciting. I love this series. And apparently they're bringing back a lot of the multiplayer mini games. So that is actually the most popular thing about Monkey Ball is the multiplayer mini games. Particularly the target drop, so I hope that's in there.
I forgot about those actually.
Yeah, they're very popular. They're a lot of fun amongst people who play old GameCube games and things like that. It's still a game that people play today.
Have you ever seen speedruns of any of the Monkey Ball games? Because those are
No, I'm sure it's bananas.
It's bananas. Those are insane. Like it is crazy how much you can do with that.
Vice said it better.
That shit is bananas.
Oh, there we
Gross.
go.
Yeah,
Now
sorry,
you're on his
I
level.
saved it. I find it appealing.
Okay, let's move on. Enough of this chicanery. Anyway,
All right.
and
Stop acting
tomfoolery.
like fruits.
So anyway, Square Enix is talking about the possibility of doing a Dragon Quest IX remake for mobile and or Switch.
Was 9 the MMO type one?
It is the DS exclusive.
Yeah, I think the MMO one might have been 10.
That's 11.
Well, okay.
Or no, 10. 10.
It is 10?
11
Okay.
just came out. Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
I do remember the 9 one though.
Yeah,
I wonder
10,
how that would work on mobile. Are they going to have two screens on the phone? Was a second screen necessary in 9?
I think it was mostly like a map menu system, so it won't be so
okay.
bad. It actually will do well to be on Switch or mobile because like a big part of that game was like the spot pass kind of features that it had. Because that's how you got some of the randomly generated dungeons and things like that to get
Mm-hmm.
rare items and things like that. So that's really cool. I hope it's it at least comes out for the Switch because I prefer that over mobile. But that's really cool. I mean, it would suck for one of the best games in the series by a lot of fan standards to be locked to an old system and never see the light of day. I believe you could pretty much get any other Dragon Quest game currently, except for maybe 10. In one form or another, even in English. You can get all the mobile ports up to I think 4. Actually, I think some of them passed 4. So yeah. So there's a lot of this floating around, but that would be cool. That would definitely be cool. Next thing here is that R-Type Final 2 has already had some updates, which is neat. I'm glad to see that after the Kickstarter, they didn't rest on their laurels. They're putting out actual stuff, and they're also putting out surveys on designs of ships to be put into the game. So that's pretty cool. They're making it interactive for the Kickstarter following. Other than that, nothing too nutty, but it's good to see that they are following up on their promises. I don't think there's any danger of this one going by the wayside. I think they're a very dedicated team.
This is going to be the actual final one?
No, and I hope not. I mean, if it sells well, it won't be. I mean,
right.
And you don't want it to be the final one, especially for
I like R-Type. I'd never really played much of Delta or Final, but I do like the R-Type games. They're some of my favorite shooters.
3's my favorite, but Delta's also really freaking good. A lot of people think that Delta's the best one. Final's also an excellent game, so I definitely recommend tracking down a copy of any of those, but 1 and 2 are just hard as balls. But 3
Aren't
is...
balls usually soft?
Not mine. But yeah, R-Type Final 2 is a welcome surprise, and I'm glad that it's moving forward. So, also, this was a big surprise. We didn't talk about this when it was first announced, but Yooka-Laylee's getting a sequel.
It's getting a sequel?
Yeah,
I didn't realize it did that well.
Yeah, it's a 2D sequel, actually.
Interesting.
So it's going to be similar to like a Donkey Kong Country Returns kind of thing.
I don't know if I'm like, not that I'm not a fan of that, but I don't see the appeal of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you play this one, Lotus?
No, I mean I haven't played a game like that since Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, I mean it's not one of my type of games. I like the Donkey Kong Country Returns games, so this appeals to me more than the 3D exploration titles. But to be honest, it's not a big deal for me. But I thought I would throw it in here because I think some people would like it.
Weirdos.
Which is oddly enough our entire fan base and staff. But I don't know whether Lotus. I threw this in as a Lotus special here. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure: Last Survivor. Have you heard about this?
Well, yeah, I'm aware that it's a sort of battle royale arcade game, and so
Yeah.
I was less interested in it because it's a battle royale arcade game. Like if I got a home release, I might pick it up for like the sheer novelty of it, but like I mean obviously I prefer single player stuff, even though
Sure.
I could kind of see Joe working out at battle royale, like just for like fun. What would happen if we had these like 4 characters fight each other or whatever? It's just kind of funny though because JoJo is very usually one-on-one with maybe slight assists from someone else.
Sure. Well, I just thought I would throw this in there. Apparently, it's coming out this summer at some point, or it was so late into winter, rather. So,
I actually thought it was out already because like I'd heard about this months and months ago. So it never
they
actually came out.
They were building up to a release this summer, and then they held it back.
Okay.
In order to make it better, but this seems similar to that Square Enix game that we play at round 1. What's that game called?
I was actually thinking that, but I completely forgot what that was called. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Pyro knows what it is. That gun game.
Oh, Gun Stratos or something like that.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
sounds
you're right.
right. Yeah, that game's cool
Yeah.
as hell, but like I'm more of a single player guy, so I just like I get excited watching a bunch of people
Yeah.
play that game because all sorts of crazy shit goes down. So I could see JoJo working like that, but like if I saw it at an arcade, I would try it, but that's about as far as I would go with that.
Yeah, yeah. I agree, but I thought it was interesting at least.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This was a really interesting announcement. So, apparently, this was announced. Rakugaki Kingdom. Does anybody remember the Graffiti Kingdom games?
No,
I've
I looked up this link
I've heard of
before
it.
the podcast, but I've never heard of it.
Okay, so for PS2, there were two games as part of this series called Magic Pengle. Was the first one, and the second one was Graffiti Kingdom.
I think I've heard of just the Graffiti Kingdom one. That's the one where you like literally draw a creature and like have it fight other like crudely drawn creatures, and like the fun of it is just like, look at this weird thing I put in the game. Like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, so the whole idea was that you could design your own character by drawing it. In the original, it was basically they made a 3D representation of a 2D drawing that you made.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one, the Graffiti Kingdom, they actually allowed you to design it out of like shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was a fun game, especially if you wanted to mess around. Not really my kind of thing, but it's another one of those games where like the character creation is like the fun part. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like
the actual
Sims
game
or whatever.
looked like okay.
Yeah, exactly. But this, I can imagine this would be a fun mobile game because of the different situations that they can come up with for your character. If anybody is curious, Rakugaki means basically like drawing doodles.
Oh, fair enough.
In Japanese, so this will be the third game in that series.
It's kind of cool.
But I think mobile's a perfect platform for this kind of thing.
Yeah, if you get to use your finger
cool.
or a stylus to just do whatever, like you could really get precision drawing. Because with the PS2 controller, you can only go so far. Like you have to be a lot more.
You have to be really skilled
and
patient.
Yeah. Like that kind of
thing.
game would have done a lot better on like the Wii or the DS or something.
Or the Wii U, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, the Wii U for sure.
I just thought it was neat just because I knew about those titles. I owned them at one point. Let's see here. Oh, Switch Online added 2 new games to it. Wrecking Crew, which I think is an underrated game. I think that's actually one of Nintendo's better early games. I really love Wrecking Crew.
What was Wrecking Crew?
So Wrecking Crew is you control Mario as like a construction guy, and
I thought he was a plumber.
He's a carpenter first. He's a carpenter first, and then a plumber second.
He's an abusive circus trainer first.
No, he was a carpenter first. Donkey Kong. Original Donkey Kong. And then he's a circus trainer in the second one.
It was the second one he was a circus... Okay. You got me.
And it was multiple Marios. There were
but that was
Marios.
I was gonna say that wasn't Mario. That was Jumpman.
No, but like there are like multiple Marios on screen at once in Donkey Kong Jr. somehow.
Oh.
But anyway. Wrecking Crew is a lot of fun. So you go up against a computer-controlled rival, and what you do is you knock down walls and things like that, and it's a puzzle game essentially. You try to beat the clock.
You know what that comes off to me as? Like, not the style of game, but that makes me think of Game & Watch, where it's just like,
I can see that.
Here's a Game & Watch game where you're doing this completely different thing. Like, it just seems like here's another thing for Mario to do. It just kind of comes off like maybe they were gonna pull off a Game & Watch with Mario, but then they were eventually like, nah, let's just stick to the platforming.
It definitely feels like a Nintendo arcade game like Mario Brothers or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually
it definitely
Mario
feels
Brothers.
like that.
Mario Brothers plays nothing like Super Mario Brothers, plays nothing like Wrecking Crew. It looks like Mario was gonna be the next Game & Watch until he wasn't.
Yeah. But Wrecking Crew is a great game. It's a lot of fun. There was a Japanese-only sequel for the Super Famicom as well.
Oh.
But
Oh,
this is
the
just
one
the
where
NES
Wario?
version.
Is that the one with Wario, where it's like the bucket on his head?
No, that's Mario and Wario, but
Okay,
you
okay.
are kind of close. They think that the prototype for Wario was in it. His name
Oh.
is Foreman Spike.
I didn't even know
And
about that. I was just thinking like that I knew that the bucket on the head was like a Japanese only game.
he looks like Wario, Foreman Spike, but it was before Wario was in a game. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
I wonder
So
if they'll have like a really weird like you know how Super Mario Odyssey and like one of the Mario Tennis games brought back Pauline and it's like
oh
remember
yeah.
Pauline? Like I would love to bring back like weird shit like Foreman Spike or that like well I mean this is gonna segue what you're going to talk about, but the
Stanley the Bugman.
Stanley the Bugman, yeah. I never remember his name. I'm like
So
Dave?
I only
Like-
know his name because I'm a weirdo and I love Donkey Kong 3. Donkey Kong 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I know I'm a weirdo for doing so, but I think it's a very underrated shmup time management game. That is the other game that's being added to the NES titles on Switch Online. I recommend. I mean, if you already have Switch Online and you're paying for it, both of these are great. Wrecking Crew is definitely worth it. But as far as Donkey Kong 3 goes, the arcade version of Donkey Kong 3 is already on the Switch. If you really like that game, if you like the NES version, go and play the arcade version. It's even better. I love that game. I wanted to move on to this as well. Cuphead cartoon, it was revealed for Netflix, which was a big surprise. I thought that was really neat. They are not doing it in the original art style because
I was just
they
gonna
want
say,
to.
ironically, it's not gonna be like a callback to the old cartoons like the video game was.
Well, I mean, you can understand why. I mean,
I know it's like a
Yeah,
pain in the ass.
if they did, well, also if they did, then it's be like, why not just play the game kind of thing?
yeah.
They kind of need to do something a little different.
Yeah. The video game, I mean, for anybody who wasn't tracking this, the development of this, it took forever to
That
be
too.
made. Yeah.
And they had to like, didn't they have to put out like one or two like extra mortgages on their home or something? It was something like insane. It was timely. Time consuming and expensive.
Yeah, and then eventually Microsoft stepped in to help finish the game, and
Yeah.
well, they actually asked them to. They were going to publish it, and then they were like, "Hey, can you add like levels to the game as well?" Because it was just a boss rush when it was
Oh.
originally released,
So
and
they
they were
added the
like,
running
"Oh yeah,
guns?
we'll add to the game if you give us money," and they did. So
Yeah, I remember that it was a boss rush, and like originally when it was that, I'm like, this isn't my kind of game. Not that I've played it yet, but once they started adding more to it than just that, I it made it more interesting to me anyway.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
this was teased at E3 like years before the game actually came out. It was one
Oh,
of those
sure.
like so is anything happening with Cuphead? So it was huge when it finally came out.
yeah, a lot of people had given up hope. They thought like it was going to be one of those like abandoned titles.
I
That
remember
kind of thing.
feeling similarly for Little Nightmares. I don't even remember what it was called when I first saw the trailer for it, but I think it was like during the PS3 era. So like I
Sure.
couldn't believe it when it finally came out.
Yeah. This is great though. I love the characters. I love the weird little world, where they drink out of their own head and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is so bizarre.
I just love that, and I also love the the scary bad guys of the creepy bad guy characters of old style cartoons like they have for with Satan in this is
I was
pretty
just gonna say
awesome.
just straight up the devil. Like,
Yeah.
All right, and I love how the entire premise of the game is they made a bet with the devil, and the devil's like, "Well, it's time for me to collect now." And I'm like, "Oh fuck!" And like that's the entire game.
Yep. So I'm excited about that. I mean, and I belong to Netflix, so I'll certainly give that a shot once it comes out.
Yeah.
When are they gonna have the Mugman spin-off? Give me more Mugman.
Or the lady, what's I forget what her name is.
I don't know if I
But-
ever knew her name, but I saw her in a couple of levels. Or how about the shopkeeper? Like, welcome.
Yeah.
Ah.
But yeah, moving on here, Caladrius Blaze came out for the Switch last week. I just wanted to quickly mention that. It's made by the same company that makes the current Raiden games, so it is worth it if you like some shmups. It's a good shmup. It's not fantastic, but it's very well polished. It's as close to a triple A shmup as we're gonna get in this age. Like it certainly has the money behind it, which is kind of cool. It was pretty cool. So, I just put this in as kind of a for fun thing. I saw this on Twitter earlier today. So China really loves them some Contra, and they even have an exclusive Contra mobile game that nowhere else in the world got.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but they released 2 flavors of Contra Pringles.
That's amazing.
In China.
Is one of them bean because like red bean or something because it's bean?
Oh, I hope, but I don't think so. I think they're just sour cream and onion and barbecue. If it looks like
it's just the
if it looks to
branding.
Yeah,
me.
I was gonna say we already have sour cream and onion and barbecue. But then again, you know what they say about Pringles? Once you pop, the entertainment never ends.
Oh God. I like to rock and roll all night and party some of the time.
Yeah,
but
and party as frequently
anyway,
as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Color me surprised and elated. Contra fucking Pringles. This
is pretty great.
Freaking great. I wish I had some.
Sour cream and onion is Contra. Barbecue is Contra. We are all Contra.
You get a Contra. You get a Contra.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, I think Contra's pretty cool, but like, I'd buy Contra Pringles. I love Pringles and I like Contra, so like, sure, give me them Contra Pringles.
Well, let's pop and don't stop aggressively.
Let us pop without stopping.
Let's pop without stop. This is stupid.
And now completely different.
Yeah.
It's great. You should look up these things on the internet. It's glorious. They have like their heads with fire behind them. It's
man!
It's
all right.
So good. It's so good. Anybody should look this up. It's glorious.
Time to pay egregiously expensive import fees.
Yeah. I have never wanted to pay $20 for a Pringles can in my entire life.
I still do not.
What was it like? They were kind of stale. Anyway,
tariffs.
Moving on here. This is another Lotus special. Metal Wolf Chaos is having physical copies at GameStop.
Yeah, I actually went ahead and pre-ordered mine.
Yeah, pre-order one before the company shutters its doors permanently. But this is going to be fun. What's that?
Yeah, I said that's a good point, actually. But I gotta say, it's really fun, like, mentioning the game to the GameStop people. Like, oh, I'm gonna pre-order this. And they're like, oh, what's Metal Wolf Chaos? And I'm like, oh, let me tell you.
What's Metal Wolf Chaos?
Yeah.
the game that the only game I've been talking about on my fucking podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, they kind of know what it is because, like, they're in the video game business and they saw E3. They're like, is that the President game? I'm like, hell yeah, it's the President game.
Hell yeah. But yeah, this is going to be like the regular version. There's like a limited run, or is it
special reserve games. They do far fewer releases, but they tend to really fancy the releases up. They're the ones who did Enter the Gungeon that came with like an Ammonomicon. They're the ones who did like the really large physical PC edition with swag for Shadow Warrior. I forgot if it was 1 or 2. I want to say 2. They recently just did Greece, like Gris, Greece.
Oh, okay.
It's Spanish,
Greece,
so I think it's Greece.
Greece.
So yeah, they'll be doing Metal Wolf Chaos as well, and depending on what comes in their release and whether I'm able to actually get it on time, I'll decide which order to go through with and which one to not.
Yeah, I might just go with the regular version of it, but this is cool. It's cool to have a physical copy of a game we never thought we were ever going to get.
Yeah, on Xbox,
really cool.
Like an original Xbox released from like 15 years ago, now out on physically PS4 only, but it'll be available like on everything, PS4, Xbox One, PC, so like anyone can play it. I just like the idea of going into a store and picking up Metal Wolf Chaos. Like, that's so weird.
It's like getting your Duke Nukem Forever
Yeah,
after reserving it for 15 years, right?
well, I mean, kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't know this game was going to come out, and like 15 years later, they're like, oh yeah, we're doing it. What? Whereas Duke Nukem Forever, they called that a million years ago, and yeah, you were waiting forever for that one. By the way, Metal Wolf Chaos is like $30, because remember, it is like a 15-year-old game. It's not 60.
Sure.
That'd be bullshit. Like, it's like when Resident Evil Remake, like the remaster came out, like, the remake of the GameCube game. Like, how expensive did you really think it was going to be? It's like $20. If you got the RE1 and 0 combo, it's 40 because that's 2 games. But, like, again, how expensive do you expect the 15-year-old game to be,
Exactly. Well, moving on here. This is a one that Pyro might be interested in. Majin Tensei for the Super Famicom was finally fan translated.
Interesting.
So what this is the Shin Megami Tensei strategy spin-off, kind of like Fire Emblem.
Before the Devil Survivor series.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just more similar to Fire Emblem than anything. It's not as much like a Final Fantasy Tactics game. It's more like Fire Emblem, like a rock paper scissors system kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of this, but I've never played it. I honestly have never played many of the Super Nintendo or Nintendo versions of these games, but
yeah, they're a little hard to go back to, but they're interesting.
Yeah.
At least the art and the music are phenomenal on them, all
like
of them.
Usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is of particular note because it is the final game in the series not translated for the Super Famicom.
Oh, nice.
So they've caught up. I think they have all the
translated
Famicom
second
games.
one. They translated the second Majin Tensei before the first one.
They may have, or that wasn't released for Super Famicom. I don't know. I that's what it said on the press release from romhacking.net. So
cool.
I'm not sure. But cool. I'm probably not going to play it, but I would like to see the art and things like that. That would be cool. So this one's pretty cool for shmup fans out there. I'm certainly a shmup fan. But 2 new official Toho games are being released on Steam. So Toho series, for anybody who doesn't know what these are these famous Dojin shmups that have been being made for a long time.
They were some of like the first bullet hell games that were known in the West. Whether or not they were the first to exist, they're the first like big ones that occurred in the West.
Well, yeah, the first I'd ever heard of these games was like all the memes that came from Flandre's theme that like
and the fact that all these games were made by, or at least the main shmup ones were made by just one person.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so these are famously started on I think the PC-98, something like that, and they were fan games on an old computer. At the time he made them, it was an old computer. You know what I mean? And he originally just made like all kinds of different games. Like I think the first Toho game is like a Breakout clone. Similar to Arkanoid or something like that.
Similar to Breakout, I would imagine.
Yeah, but apparently, I think the first shmup one he made is considered. I think that's where Danmaku comes from. I think his fans called it a Danmaku game, which is where the phrase comes from, and it means bullet curtain. If in a direct translation, we call them bullet held, and it means the same thing.
That is a very appropriate translation.
Yeah, it's bullet curtain is a direct translation of that term.
That does make sense. If you ever see like Mushahime-sama Futari, like. Where on the screen are there not bullets?
Exactly. It's more like a maze game almost. Like you're going down the little tiny path that you could fit into without touching the walls.
It's like those old Flash games on the internet, like Don't Touch the Walls.
Or Operation.
Yeah.
But this series can get kind of convoluted because the proliferation of fan games within it is very, very. There's so many of them, and there's a lot of fan-made things that are officially sanctioned because the creator allows people to just make a game in the series without licensing it. He's just said, hey, I'm just happy that people are making are enjoying it. So what they'll do is they'll make all kinds of spin-off games. There have been countless spin-off games in this series, and they're not made by him. They're made by all kinds of people who want to use the characters and character designs and things like that. It gets confusing because no other series is really like that. Because you would think that any kind of fan game wouldn't be sanctioned, right?
Right.
In most series, you wouldn't see a PS4 you wouldn't see a PS4 Contra game that wasn't made by Konami unless they got Konami's permission. That's kind of what it's like. I think the first Toho game released in the United States with an English translation was one of these fan games.
That is crazy.
So there are tons of these things on the PS4, on the Vita, on the Switch. There's one coming out that's very similar to Shiren the Wanderer or the Mystery Dungeon games. There's one of those coming out really soon. There was one that was only a little while ago. They made it a Metroidvania called Luna Nights.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are a ton of these fan games, and a lot of them are really good, and he doesn't get a dime from them. It's really interesting, but these are official games from him. I think his name is Zune, if I remember right.
I don't know what his name is.
But they're called Double Spoiler and Fairy Wars. So I think they're both shmups too. Some of them are fighting games. Some of the official games are fighting games.
I feel like there's only been one fighting game, but I haven't been involved in the series in a while, so
there might be two, I think, but
since college. So yeah, there's probably a second one by now.
So Double Spoiler, the player must shoot.
I love that name, Double Spoiler.
Yeah, it's cool.
Most people get frustrated by single spoilers.
I know, right?
So, the player will shoot photographs instead of bullets in order to shame them into losing. That's pretty cool.
Shame on you.
And then there's a freezing attack style in Fairy Wars. So all the games have like a different gimmick mechanic, so it's pretty cool to see them. I will note that these won't be in English officially. None of the official games have ever been officially translated to English. However, the fan community is very strong with these and has even made like a launcher. So even if you buy these on Steam, you can open up this launcher. And it will find the games on your computer and patch them for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you just need to wait for that to come out, but they're very on top of it. So I don't think you'll ever have a problem. I think that's the reason why he hasn't bothered to get somebody to officially translate them, is because the fans do it and they do it to the nines. You know what I mean? So the ones that I own so far, I own a couple of the more well-known shmups that he's made. They have very good fan translations that I did with this launcher. And it's very easy to use. So look out for those. Let me see here. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 Black Order came out last week. I just wanted to quickly say that. I kind of want to play that, but I'm so far behind in everything so I don't know.
I've played
I'll get to it when
Legends
I get to it.
1. That's as far as I've gone.
And Fire Emblem Three Houses is out this week. If you want a physical copy,
this week?
Yep, the 26th. Friday. So definitely pre-order this one if you want a physical copy, just like any other RPG, like JRPG. If you really want a copy of this, definitely pre-order it. Let me
see. This is gonna be the first Fire Emblem game that out of the new versions that started with Awakening or whatever it was, that I'm not gonna play because I don't have the time anymore. And Fire Emblem, I wasn't planning on playing it to begin with, and when I saw the news that they said if you follow one house, that's like a 60-hour game, I'm like, I'm not playing what is it? 100? No, yes, 180 hours to see all 3 stories.
And by the way, that's assuming there's not some sort of convergence at the end that adds even more time.
Exactly.
You know there is. You
Yeah.
know that there's like an extra chapter or some shit. Like
yeah,
once
well,
you
they did
do
that with
all 3.
Conquest and Birthright. There was like an all together now kind of finale chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I definitely
At least this is one game, and they didn't split it amongst 3 different games.
Yes,
that's good too.
that is very good. Yeah,
But I own them all the U.S. releases. It's going to be tough for me to buy this one though because it's just I don't have time.
Yeah.
I just
they take forever.
I got Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, and Awakening. So I actually stopped at Awakening, although I still haven't played them.
All right, moving on here. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Tetris Effect was announced for PC, which I'm very excited about.
I heard that it's really good, and it's really cool that I might be able to play it now instead of. I mean, I heard it's really good in VR. Right, that's the VR one.
Yes.
And I don't have VR, so I will never be able to see that necessarily. But I'm wondering if it's gonna work on the Steam the Vive.
No, I think their release of Res Infinity allowed you to use the Vive. So cool. I believe Tetris Effect is also going to have it, but they said this is going to be the best version of the game. They are using like the PC to its limits. You'll be able to use like really, really, really high resolutions to play this game. I'm excited about that because it's supposed to be a visually stunning and orally stunning experience. So
these guys' products all are.
Yeah,
even his early stuff, it's like just groundbreaking.
I'm surprised I don't own it already, but I will probably be buying the Tetris Effect for PS4 just because I have a PSVR.
Right.
But this might be a game that's worth double dipping, to show on the 4K screen, that we have at home because it's just amazing. So, really cool stuff. Moving on here, there are also 2 Sega Ages games were announced, which were actually both a big surprise. The original Shinobi, with the arcade game, is going to have a Sega Ages version. It probably will be censored to some degree, so it's a shame because and it's not really censored. It's more like they shouldn't have had it in there to begin with. They had pictures of Marilyn Monroe in there, and they were like the Andy Warhol ones, So that'll probably be removed, but not much else. Everything else will probably be intact, and it'll be, the best version you could buy otherwise, because it's Sega Ages and they're great. They also announced a release of Columns 2, which I found very interesting. So Columns 2, I think, was only released in Japan. Never got an American release. We only got.
There was a Columns 2.
Yeah, well, we got Columns 1 and Columns 3. Columns 3 probably has the best cover art of any video game ever.
I didn't know there was a Columns 3 either. I thought there was just Columns.
Oh, do yourself a favor.
I'm going to look it up because I feel like I've played one of the Columns games, but I'm not sure.
Well, the first Columns was available on the Sega 6-pack, I remember, with like Streets of Rage 1, Golden Axe 1, I think Revenge of Shinobi, and there was like 1 or 2 other games there.
This is the real cover. I'm going to send this.
Are you talking about the one with the guy sitting on all the gems? Okay.
Oh, that's pretty silly. Yeah, it's just like a regular dude, like hey, with like the video game looking gems all around him.
He's also like not the best looking fellow. He's a strange looking fellow.
I'm okay with this.
But this was the real cover.
Oh, the Japanese version is very different. It's way more cartoony with little like chickens.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. But anyway, Columns 2
goofy.
Also comes with Columns 1, which is pretty cool.
So it's Columns 3.
Yeah, if you add them together, it's very simple.
But this was Sega's competing game with Tetris. It's the game that they released early on the Genesis and also the Game Gear. It is actually a licensed Western game, which a lot of people don't know. It actually started on computers in the West here. But it means a lot to people who were Sega fans back in the day. It's a fun game. I like Puyo Puyo and Tetris better, but Columns still definitely has a place. It's a good game.
Columns 3 is called Revenge of Columns?
Yes.
Wait, really?
What the hell?
It's goofy as shit. Yeah.
Oh, it supports 3 players. Wait, it says 1 to 5 players. What?
It's probably like a tournament mode, if I had to guess.
It says in the box 1 to 5 players. It's ridiculous. Well, it does. No, it says 5-player simultaneous mode on the back of the box. I've never heard of that.
That's just nutty. I don't even know how that works.
Yeah, you can see it on the back of the box. It's just like if you're playing Tetris with however many players, like just left to right, like player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Crazy.
That is insane.
Well, anyway, it's cool that they're making this. I'll pick it up just because, but not
5-player Genesis game. What the hell?
We blew Lotus's mind.
Like, yeah. I thought you couldn't get past like Bomberman. Like it's like
we need to reboot his system.
4 players, like 5 players, and it's Columns 3.
So I also wanted to quickly mention here before we move on to a couple things that Pyro wanted to talk about. Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails are guest starring on OKKO on Cartoon Network. OKKO. Wow. Blech.
Well, that makes sense. That they do Sega Ages. It only makes sense they would do another palindrome.
That's a good point.
I just realized that.
Wow. But yeah. I knew about Sega Ages. I didn't even think that OKKO was a was a palindrome. Even though it's easier.
Yeah, it's 2 letters.
That's funny. But I just thought that was fun. Definitely cool to have Sonic in a guest star in a show. So really neat.
That is, that never really happens, does it?
Yeah, apparently this show is a lot of fun, even for adults. So a lot of Cartoon Network shows are like that.
I was going to say, a lot of kid shows today are pretty good for adults.
Absolutely.
Because back when we grew up, what kid show was good for adults too? Like Sesame Street and nothing else?
No, I mean, all of the Warner Brothers shows were really good. I mean,
that's a good point.
All like Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, Batman, any of the DC series.
No, that's true. But I'm thinking like for little kids. Like Batman was a very mature show, despite being for generally younger audiences.
I was, the big comfy couch kind of guy, back then. So I don't know if it holds up.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's just an old PBS TV show. Yeah. About a clown with a big couch.
Well, I guess the good news is that it was.
He was watching porn.
Well, yeah. All. I have a thing for clowns. So.
At least it was fun for viewers like you.
Oh boy. So, Pyro, you put these in the notes, and they're certainly of note. So, I would like you to introduce them if you could.
Yeah, I'll do what I'm gonna assume might be the shorter one first.
Yeah.
So they are doing an HD remaster of Batman Beyond.
I heard about that, like the whole series.
One of the best Batman series.
Absolutely.
I don't know much. I didn't really read much about it other than that, but I think it's really cool that they're doing that because I know that it got a lot of following. There are a lot of people who are saying that how they're making a new Batman movie with yet another person playing Batman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying it'd be really cool if that was Batman Beyond.
Oh yeah.
It was
gonna be like this was Robert Pattinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, Batman Beyond was one of those shows where I saw commercials for it. It's like, it's a cool, edgier, younger Batman who can actually fly with jets. I was like, fuck this. And then, like, years later, I saw clips and, like, it's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really good. And then the other thing, which, I mean, we don't have to talk to at length because it's getting pretty, we're getting pretty long in the tooth, as Vice says. But, so, San Diego Comic-Con went on over the weekend, and one of the big presentations was Marvel's presentation for the 4th phase of their MCU.
Yes.
And it's pretty cool actually. Like the stuff that they announced.
Surprising stuff, most of it.
Yeah. So first is the Eternals, which I don't know much about, but it's really cool. They have some really big names in that.
I don't even know that those characters.
Yeah, I've heard the name, but that's about it. I don't know anything about the Eternals.
The next is called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which, I mean, out of all these, that's one of my coolest ones because the fact that, one, it's supposed to do with Asian American communities. Black Panther did with African American communities.
Yeah.
It's, as far as they've announced so far, the director, the writer, and, like, all the cast are Asian Americans. That's cool.
Sure.
Two, what I really liked about it is this is the real Mandarin is going to be the villain in this one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So they mentioned that the real Mandarin's going to be in it, and he's going to be pissed off about the fake Mandarin that occurred. In
he wasn't
Iron
in
Man
on
3.
that? That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's really cool. They're making another Doctor Strange, which is actually kind of interesting. It's called the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, the title alone intrigued me.
It's two things that I thought was cool about that was one is, actually I'm not going to mention the first one because it's a little bit spoilery, but like the whole thing about there being a multiverse is really cool. That was first kind of introduced in the new Spider-Man movie. And the other thing is they were saying they want this to be the first kind of like horror-ish movie in the MCU.
Well, actually, what I was thinking, there's no way the movie's actually going to be this, but my first thought was that even though I haven't seen any Marvel Cinematic Universe movie past like Thor 2, I had heard that there was like a scene in not Endgame, Infinity War, where Doctor Strange is like, let me check all theoretical possibilities. Oh shit, there's only one universe in like 100,000 or whatever where we actually win this. I'm just imagining Doctor Strange 2 is just like, again, there's no way it'll actually be this, but I'm just imagining the movie is just like all of the fuck-ups. Like, what if we chose any other universe and Thanos just kills everybody or something like that?
Well, we'll get to that, actually, but this is going to be cool. I think Scarlet Witch is going to be in this one as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I think Scarlet Witch.
They're making the first one in Phase 4 that's going to be out in May is the Black Widow movie.
Which is like, huh? What?
Oh no, it's actually it's going to be. I mean, that's good because it's their version of, you could say, Wonder Woman, where there's a lead actor that's female, which I think is good.
Yeah,
and
but
the villain
the
is gonna be
timeline.
Yes. The villain is going to be the Taskmaster.
That's
neat. Really cool.
What a dangerous, annoying to deal with villain.
Yes. And then the other
he's amazing
movie,
in Spider-Man.
The other movie
Spider-Man
that was
game.
announced is the fourth Thor movie, which has a great title, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
But what's cooler is this is the part. This is very similar to the comics, where I mean, I don't know why it happens, but Thor, who we know as Thor, doesn't have the powers, and Jane has the powers. So Natalie Portman's back, and
it's actually Natalie Portman.
Yes. And she's going to be Thor, basically, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that happened in the comics, too, so...
Yeah,
it's pretty
and
cool.
I know a lot of people are annoyed, including my dad, but even though he doesn't read comics...
Yeah, but this happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, all the people are like, that's not accurate to the comics. It's like, yes, it is. And it's not even
by a long shot.
But anyway, so those are 2, 4, 5 movies, but also there's 5 TV shows they are releasing on their Disney Plus service. So first is The Falcon and Winter Soldier, which
Neat. Nice.
Lotus Prince, I'm not going to tell you about anything about that, but it's basically The Falcon and Winter Soldier. They might actually change the name, but...
Well, why are you mentioning me specifically, though?
Because you haven't watched any of the movies after Thor 2.
I was like... this is the one you mentioned me specifically for, is Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm like, because I have seen regular Winter Soldier.
The names of these... the names aren't spoilers, but the story of these... It could be spoilers for anyone who hasn't caught up. Yeah. But I'll basically just say that the logo of the Falcon and Winter Soldier is the Captain America shield.
That's pretty great.
The next TV show is WandaVision.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
It's gonna be Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Yeah, because her name is Wanda.
I've heard. So those of you who are wondering, I heard that part of this might be her creating her own reality where Vision
House of M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's gonna work. The next TV show is Loki.
Yeah,
which this is
Tom Hiddleston, right?
This is not. Yeah, this is not going to be the Loki from the last Thor movie, but this is the Loki that escaped
Oh yeah.
in Endgame, basically. So it's him still being a pain in the ass douchebag.
Cool. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
And then the next one is called What If. This is more like going to be this is going to be a cartoon, but these are a bunch of like what if scenarios. I don't know which ones, but one could be like Lotus. You mentioned like what if Thanos did win.
Yeah, because Marvel had a whole lineup of books called What If way back in the day, and some of them were like interesting.
Some of them were really funny.
I was going to say some of them are really interesting. Like, what if this key event happened the other way? But then there's weird bullshit like what if Wolverine were king of the vampires? It's like what?
Yeah,
but there's what if like there's like the more interesting stuff like what if Spider-Man had married like the Black Cat instead?
Yeah,
like that's actually kind of interesting.
One of my favorites was they also had like goofy what if like I had a couple of these issues, and in the back they had even like goofier what if stuff, like just like a picture of it, right?
Oh, nice.
And one of them is what if Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive sheep?
Oh, nice. I saw a whole comic, which was what if Spider-Man had kept his like 6 arms? That happened at one point. What if he just kept that?
But yeah, I lost
it, but the what if stuff is ridiculous.
The other TV show is Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And this is going to be basically, from what I know, Hawkeye training the next Hawkeye.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And it's funny because like I think he said in the panel that I'm training someone to understand what it's like to not have superpowers.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, like, other than the what if, all the TV shows are part of the MCU, which is
really
great. Interesting because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of part of the MCU in a way. Like, they mentioned it, but it was never officially part of the MCU.
Yeah, like Daredevil and Jessica Jones were like their own thing.
And same with the Netflix, which the thing with the Netflix ones that I find really interesting, and I'm trying to remember which movie it was, but the villain from the first season of Iron Fist is going to be a character in one of these movies or TV shows as a completely different person. So they're, in a way, they're kind of proving that the Netflix shows were not part of the MCU.
That's interesting. But
I think that could go. I mean, it's really cool, and I think that. But the other thing that I want to also mention is I've mentioned 5 movies and let's say 4 TV shows that are part of the MCU. That's between May 1st, 2020 and November 5th, 2021.
Yeah, so they're like snappy.
Like a year and a half, there's like shit ton of stuff going on. Like that is Phase 4.
This is like why I fell off of Marvel in the first place. It's just so much shit. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I am a little disappointed because like I know that they're starting to actually start filming on Guardians 3, so like I was a little weirded out that it wasn't in here because I know that's coming.
Yeah.
My fiance was mentioning that too, and it's interesting because I thought that would come out first. I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's another movie before Black Widow, but like no, that is the beginning of Phase 4 is Black Widow.
Yeah, maybe that'll be the beginning of Phase 5. Who knows?
Maybe, I don't know. But also in Phase 5, Thor, or in Guardians 3, I heard Thor is going to be with them. So that might.
Oh, nice.
So the 4th Thor movie might connect that in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Out of the ones here, I'm most excited to see Loki. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
To see, like, having a villain as the main character?
Yeah. He's done a heel face kind of thing, because, like, all the cool bad guys have to become good guys.
Well, the thing, too, about Loki is he's a villain only in the fact that he's just self-serving.
Yeah.
Like, he's not necessarily a hard... He's
not evil, necessarily.
He's not lawful evil. He's chaotic evil.
It's debatable as to whether he's even evil. Like even in the first movie, yeah, he's the villain.
Chaotic
but
neutral.
What was he doing? Trying to please his father by wiping out the race of giants that the gods hate.
Chaotic neutral. Yeah, like he's
more evil than good, but like I hesitate to call him evil.
But
it's like Deadpool.
He's in it for himself. But he's in it for himself, but like he would go against a villain if it meant he was gonna die. Like
well, that's the whole thing. It's like Deadpool. It's like he should be a villain, but he only brutally mutilates and dismembers bad guys.
Oh, and I heard that Deadpool might be in the next Spider-Man movie.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I that was another thing I was like, but they just bought all these X-Men. They didn't even use
Honestly,
one of them.
I mean, part of me would hope that if they do bring the X-Men in, it's just like one or two of them, because there's way too many X-Men. Like, X-Men would be its own universe because there's so many of them.
Yeah, not to mention
Like,
Deadpool as a running gag of like, oh, we can't afford all the X-Men.
And I think it's gonna be hilarious because I'm pretty sure Deadpool, they're gonna make a joke about Deadpool, like his movie, if he's in Spider-Man, where like he can't curse or something, and he's gonna break the fourth wall, or he's gonna know that this is a neutered version of himself in some ways. He's gonna be like, wait a second, I thought I looked a little bit different than this. Like, what's going on here?
Or maybe it'll not quite hit the R rating. He'll get to swear like once. You know,
Yeah.
like it's still PG-13. Like,
I only have one more
actually
shit
really
left.
hoping-
yeah.
I know that the buyout happened before they were finished or after they were finished filming Endgame, but I was really hoping there would be like some Easter egg with Deadpool in Endgame in some way. But
him climbing out of the ruins, just like in Hulk versus
Right.
Wolverine, he like, climbs out of the whole fight. Oh, I lived the whole time! Wow, nice.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool if the way he's introduced to the MCU is in the next Spider-Man, because in the comics they're like best buds.
Well, no, I was gonna say, like, speaking of the comics, I was gonna say I could see a way him being introduced. I could see a whole scene in my head, because like, didn't he like get mad at Spider-Man every once in a while because people like would mistake him for him because the costumes are kind of similar? I could see that working, like the opening of a Spider-Man movie, and whoops, it's Deadpool. Spider-Man's over there, or like the other way around, where like, wait a minute, you're not Spider-Man, you're Deadpool, or some weird thing. I can sort of see that happening.
And back to X-Men, like, I hope that... I mean, I don't know if they're... I mean, I guess they would have to do their own Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman was not the MCU Wolverine. Like, I'm pretty sure they could bring, like, Wolverine, maybe Cyclops, and, like, Storm. But I hope that it's, like, limited to, like, only a handful of X-Men.
Well, you can always hope for a third try at the Dark Phoenix saga. By the same guy.
Yeah.
The same guy directed the second try at it and fucked it up again. What did you think was going to happen?
Yep.
Jesus. But I'm just so mad because like when I screw up, it doesn't result in like millions of dollars worth of lost profit. Yeah. But this guy gets to do it twice.
Yep.
Fuck.
It's not fair.
It isn't. But anyway, I'm also very excited for Doctor Strange because I've been dying for them to add horror into this fold.
Right.
So
and Marvel can easily lend to that. It doesn't go in that direction, but it easily could. Like Doctor Strange's whole universe is like eldritch horror.
Yeah. They could do. This is like the closest thing that they have to like a Constantine kind of thing going on. So, like, and I love that stuff.
That's true too. But like my mind was blown. Like I remember X-Men versus Street Fighter, like the first like Marvel versus Capcom before Marvel versus Capcom. And I remember like one of the characters in like Marvel Superheroes War of the Gems, or maybe not in that, maybe it was X-Men versus Street Fighter, was like Shumagorath. And like I never heard of this.
It's basically like a Lovecraftian horror.
It just straight up is.
It looks like it, at least. I don't know what it acts like, but
I never heard of this character ever. And like years later, I learned it was a Doctor Strange film. Like that was a Marvel character. And like in his ending, like I mean, this is before ending movies. This is like ending screenshot when you beat arcade game with him. He just keeps multiplying, and like the end screenshot is like a green Earth covered with eyes. It's like, oh shit! Like, and that's a Doctor Strange villain, really? Like, oh man, bring him into the MCU.
Yeah, so
he might be in the Multiverse of Madness. We don't know who the villain is.
Please make it happen.
Yeah, and Scarlet Witch is going to be definitely in it. I just looked at it. So
okay.
So she's a good fit because she's the other like magical being. Yeah. She's not a mutant in this universe. She's magic based. So. I think, right?
Yeah.
She's not a mutant. I know that.
She was artificially created, kind of.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, her whole backstory and Quicksilver's are muddled as all hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they were trying to make them legally distinct from each other. That's why Quicksilver's more prominent in the X-Men universe.
No, I don't even mean that. I mean, even in the comics, like, what is their backstory?
Oh, well,
like,
they're Magneto's
constantly.
Children. They're Magneto's children.
But, like, didn't they have, like, a weird muddled past that they had to, like, work out over time to make it more clear?
I think that was kind of retconned. I don't think they were originally started off as kids of Magneto, but then they were written as such,
Yeah, it's just weird business. Yeah.
But anyway, any final thoughts here, guys, before we wrap things up?
Nope.
Not particularly.
Yeah, these are all really exciting, but interesting choices, which I'm glad about, because they're taking chances.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
pretty cool.
And that's the reason Marvel's generally so successful, is they're not all copy-pasting each other. Everyone was like, I don't know about this Guardians movie, or like, Deadpool's not going to get a big budget because it's weird and it's not what we're used to, and that's exactly why... I understand that just being different can easily crash and burn, but those movies in particular were successful because they broke the mold.
Yeah, and they basically have their own genres within themselves now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's like, I know people are getting tired of superhero movies, and I could see that, but I think the cool thing about the MCU is that they're trying to do different genres in the superhero genre.
Yeah, that is very much appreciated. Again, I stopped watching MCU movies a while ago, but I see all sorts of stuff on the internet, and even the stuff that I did see was distinct from each other. It's not like swap a hero and it's the same movie or anything. I do very much appreciate that.
Wait, I think there's something missing from this infographic that we're looking at, because I remember hearing something else. There's also a Blade entry coming out as well.
Oh, that's
was
what
that
I was
Phase 4, or was that just a separate thing?
I think it was just separate. They just mentioned Blade. They didn't say anything about when it.
Because how are you going to call it Blade 4 when Blade 1 through 3 aren't part of the MCU?
No, but I think
Blade
it's a
might
brand
just
new
be
Blade.
in another one of these things. Like, they mentioned who's going to play Blade, and that's the character I was talking about. That's the actor that was in Iron Fist.
Okay.
But they never mentioned anything about a Blade movie or anything.
Mahershala Ali.
Do you think at least one person in that movie is going to try to ice skate uphill? Do you think they're going to have the worst CG ever in a blood fight?
Probably not.
Oh, yeah, the first Blade. Oh, what a shame.
That is a brilliant movie, but that
it's
one
a good
CG
movie up
thing
until that, and even back then it didn't look good.
And even before the blood, those weird, gargoyle things also looked pretty awful. It was like, man, you had me for 95% of the movie, and then you dropped it at the very end.
The first movie with bullet time cam, by the way.
Oh, for real?
It was Blade 1, yeah, before the Matrix.
Nice.
So, anyway, this is really cool and exciting, but we have to move on, and we will have to see you next week. So we'll do an outro and we'll get going. That is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for a sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. And this week we have a really nice guest stars episode, so stay tuned for that. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, Juggernaut is finished now, and selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, and even getting in on conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me as PyroJackFrost or Cloudoid540 on Battle.net, Steam, PSN, and that's probably it. I don't know anymore.
Wow. We'll catch you then on Thursday.
Until next time, everyone.
See ya.